one. Hello, my dear sweet little chickadees. This is Cole, the resident astrologer of Smudge Wellness, and today we are kicking off a little mini series like Astrology 101 where we're going to be deep diving into all of the astrological placements so that you can have a better understanding of what it means to look at your birth chart. Now, to kick off this mini series, we are going to be talking about the rising sign. The rising sign is also known as the ascendant, and the rising sign is one of the most important astrological placements, not only because it is literally determined down to the minute that you were born, second even too, but it also too is the placement that starts off your first house in your birth chart, right? It is the placement that starts off the house of the self, the house of identity, all of those incredible, beautiful things. It also too has a really, really great tie to all things karma, soul destiny, relations, and all of that great stuff. So without further ado, let's dive into the rising sign. Now, as I said earlier, the rising sign is determined straight down to the second that you were born because it is based off of the constellation that was rising over the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. So, say hypothetically, Virgo, the constellation was rising over the eastern horizon when you were born, that makes you a Virgo rising. But the second that it moves from Virgo into Libra, then you become a Libra rising, which is why astrologers are always saying, we need the birth time down to the minute if possible. If you have the second, then you are absolutely killing it. But it's really important that you have it as specific as possible because it determines whether or not you're, say, a Virgo rising or a Libra rising. The rising sign is also the sign that rules over the first house. I go into a deeper description of the first house in another video, so make sure to go look at that on YouTube. But it also too shows us what our ruling planet is in our chart. So for example, I'm going to use myself because I'm a Virgo rising, and Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury. I do a deep dive into all the signs and what the ruling planets are, but now by understanding your rising sign and what planet is associated with that rising sign, we can find a better, more specific, articulate understanding of placements and aspects that we should look at to in our chart by understanding what our rising sign is, what rules us, and what those placements mean. So let's get into a nitty-gritty, down and dirty description of all of the rising signs. Now, the first rising sign that we're going to dive into is the Aries rising. Aries risings, you're ruled by the planet Mars. So go find your natal Mars in your chart, and that's the ruling planet. Aries risings are very outgoing, very, very charismatic, very ambitious, a lot of go-getter energy. However, Aries risings can also sometimes be a little bit impulsive, sometimes a little narcissistic, and can sometimes lack the follow-through necessary to complete projects. Now we can look at Taurus risings who are ruled by the planet Venus, right? So they have this very artisan, very, very creative, this nice sort of like warm homebody energy. I say Taurus risings always give the best hugs. They're naturally approachable and easygoing. However, they can be a little bit too focused on the material sense of the world, right? And be incredibly stubborn. Next, we can discuss Gemini risings, which are ruled by the planet Mercury. So go find the natal Mercury placement in your chart to better understand your rising sign energy. Very outgoing, very, very talkative, very charismatic, strong, big brain energy. They can be a little bit scattered at times though, right? Because the mind is always racing. The mind is always going. I call this type of placement an overthinky placement. And they can also as well to overextend themselves by taking on too many tasks because the Gemini rising is very people-pleasing and wants to say yes to everyone. Then we have Cancer risings, one of my biased favorite rising sign placements because you're ruled by the moon. Oh, it's all of the emotions, it's that nurture, it's that love, it's that maternal energy, right? There's such a deep sense of sympathy, right? And a deep sense of expression. You value safety and family and emotions very, very heavily, very open and authentic, but can sometimes be a little bit overbearing, a little bit too nurturing, and can sometimes forget to take care of the self. Then we've got Leo risings. Leo risings, y'all are ruled by the sun. So whatever your sun sign is, that is your ruling planet in your chart. You are creative. You are outgoing. You are vibrant. You are the life of the party. You have this unbeatable energy, right? This like inner child is always very, very well expressed throughout your existence. With this being said though, right, you can be a little bit impulsive. You can be a little bit stubborn. You can also be a little bit dramatic at times, but we still love you, Leo risings. And then we've got Virgo risings. Where are my Virgo risings at? Oh, me? Yes, absolutely. Love Virgo risings, of course. That's a little bit of bias. We're ruled by the planet Mercury. We are organized. We are meticulous. We can sometimes come off as a little bit cold and distant, but that's just because we're very observant, very, very perceptive. I always say Virgo risings are kind of like the wallflower, right? Like to sit back in the party, find their people, and then they get to show their lovely, vibrant personality. There's a lot of natural sense of giving and not a natural sense of support, but watch the RBF, right? The resting bitch face. The next rising sign is Libra risings. Libra risings are also ruled by the planet of Venus. They are very, very likable, very, very easygoing. This nice sense of charisma, just really attractive energy. They are incredibly social, but they can be a little bit distracted and a little bit scattered at times because there is this sense of people-pleasing energy. They do have a good sense of balance though, right? This good sense of understanding when to exert themselves and when not to. One thing I would say about Libra risings though is that they can sometimes be a little bit too focused on the physical appearance and the physical reception from other people. Then we've got Scorpio risings. I love Scorpio risings so much. They can be really mysterious, really brooding, right? Very, very observant. They've got this really keen perception because they're ruled by the planet Mars and Pluto. So they're super, super ambitious. And what I love about Scorpio risings is that they come off very hard, but on the inside, they're just big softies. Yes, they need to watch their sense of intimidation and their overbearingness, but they just got all of this really, really great, powerful, charismatic energy that exists within them. Next, we've got Sagittarius risings. Sagittarius risings are ruled by the planet Jupiter, which makes them optimistic, outgoing, free-spirited, incredibly opinionated, sometimes a little bit too opinionated, right? Watch when you're being a little bit too blunt, a little bit too straightforward. Sometimes you gotta rein it back in. They've got a very worldly perspective though. They can lack consistency from time to time, so they need to make sure that they've got all of their, their P's and their Q's, their T's crossed, their I's dotted, all of that great stuff. But at the end of the day, Sagittarius risings have this very, very nice vitality of spirit and vitality of life. We've got Capricorn risings as well, which are ruled by Saturn, which are very stoic, very, very diligent, sometimes come off a little bit serious. I talked about RBF for Virgo risings. Definitely need to watch it for Capricorn risings as well too. These are signs that are typically very mature for their age, and they seem to have it all together. However, they need to watch their sense of overcriticality, right, of themselves and of others. Next, we've got Aquarius risings, which are ruled by the planet Uranus and then also to Saturn. They are unique. They are intellectual. They are innovative. They are rebellious, right? They love to push against the norms. They love to be an individual. They love to break down structures. They can be cold and antisocial at times because this is a big brain rising sign energy, right? Always thinking, always analyzing. They do, however, have this really, really nice sense of support for the humanitarian good, right? And for the collective. They're very, very focused on how can I be better for the collective. And lastly, we have Pisces risings, which are ruled by Neptune and then also to co-rulership with Jupiter. Intuitive, sensitive, psychic, very service-oriented, right? Focused on helping others, being there for others, right? They have a hard time creating boundaries. They need to make sure that they watch themselves and not give too much of themselves so that they're losing the sense of others. But they have this lovely creative spirit and this lovely, lovely creative energy. So those are all of the rising signs and a quick little demonstration of what they mean. Now, something to think about as well too. If you have any planets that fall into the same sign as your rising sign, definitely make sure to look at those because that's going to have a little bit extra influence, right? And a little extra association to your direct personality and the outward exertion of who you are and how people receive you. But with all of that being said, my dear sweet little chickadees, thank you so much for watching and learning a little bit more about your rising sign. Be on the lookout for the rest of this little Astrology 101 mini series. And I'm sending you guys all so much love. And make sure if you want to learn more about astrology, about tarot, about spiritual wellness, meditation, all of that good stuff, check out Smudge Wellness on Instagram, on the Dirt blog, and then on YouTube as well too.